Hello everyone, I'm Anjana. I'm a research fellow from the Robert Gordon University and I will present to you the iSee platform demo. iSee platform offers tools for both industry and the researchers. And in this demonstration, I will walk you through a use case from the industry and also show some tools that are available for researchers to contribute to the iSee platform. First, let me demonstrate the iSee platform using the loan approval use case from the industry. There's a design user who's responsible for this AI system with good knowledge of the implementation details of the AI model. And there are end users who are affected by the decisions made by the AI system. For this use case, we consider them to be loan applicants, and also it can be trainee loan officers who are using it as a training tool. If you're the design user, iSee platform offers a use case management tool where you can create and maintain your use cases like the loan approval system use case, and also can make use of 3 other tools: explanation strategy editor, explainer library, and also evaluation questionnaire library. First, I want to demonstrate the use case management for the design user. Once you log into the iSee platform, if you have use cases available, you can view them here. And here you find the other tools that are available during use case creation and management. I will create a new use case here by adding the use case name, the domain, and describing the goal of the use case. Once complete, I can create the use case here and can view the use case you just created as unpublished because it's incomplete. To complete the use case, the design user clicks on the settings. The first task of the design user to describe their AI model. For the loan approval use case, we are working with a binary classification task that is using a black box, which is a random forest model trained using multivariate data set with categorical and numerical features that are past loan applications, which has 10 to 100 features and more than 1,000 examples. The design user can also add some performance matrices of the AI model. In this case, we are adding accuracy, which was 98%. Once this information is complete, the design user can save the AI model settings. Next is adding implementation details of the AI model. Here the design user can choose to provide a URL to their API or upload the model itself. For this demo, I will upload a model that's created using the scikit-learn platform, and the model file saved as a pickle file and a sample dataset that include some past loan applications. There are some configurations we require to run explainers, and I have created a sample here for the loan application demo. It contains things like what's the target name in the data set and what are the possible outcomes, and also a description of the features. I will copy this information and add them here. Once this is complete, I can save the AI model. Once the design user has completed describing the AI model and added the implementation details, the next task is to add the personas. These are the target end user groups that will make use of the system and the explanations. In this use case, that will be loan applicants and trainee loan officers. Now let's complete a persona. First, we provide the domain knowledge level and the AI knowledge level of this persona. For a loan applicant, we don't expect them to know anything about the domain or the AI system. Next, we want to add the type of questions the loan applicant will have once they receive a decision from the AI system. For an applicant who got their loan accepted, can ask something like what are the important features to the AI system. Also, they can describe the same intent using different wording of the question. For example, what features are used by the AI system. Once we have completed this information, now it is ready to retrieve a strategy from past experiences that are similar to this persona and the intent. So I connect to the iSee CBR system, and I can see here that there are explanation strategies that are 100% similar to this use case. I can weave this strategy by clicking here, and it shows that it has a single explainer, that's tabular line. And we select this as the default explanation strategy for this intent. Once this is complete, now the design user wants to configure what questions do they want to ask to see if the loan applicant is satisfied with the explanations they are provided with. So the workflow here is user asks an intent question, the system provides them with an explanation using this strategy, and then they evaluate the explanation experience using this evaluation questionnaire. For this, I'm going to reuse some of the explanation evaluation questionnaire. We load them from the questionnaire library, and I can select something here. I can modify these questions if needed as well. Save the questionnaire. Now we have a complete intent for the loan applicant. I will also add another intent for the loan applicant and an intent for the loan officer. Another type of questions a loan applicant may have when they get a rejected loan application is how to change that outcome, how to get a different outcome, for example. And they can frame this question in a different way as well. How to change the instance to get a different outcome. If they have added this type, if they ask this type of question, we want to configure a strategy that can answer that question. In this case, from my domain knowledge, I don't want to select the top recommended strategy. Instead, I select this strategy. I set it as default, and like before, I can configure evaluation questionnaire here. For this instance, I will select a different evaluation question which says this explanation of how the AI model works is useful for my goals. Because this is a loan applicant who has a rejected loan application, the explanation should tell them how to get a different outcome, so we can evaluate if the explanation was useful for them or not. Let me quickly complete the loan officer details as well. A loan officer may have some knowledge of the domain but not AI model knowledge, and the rest is very similar to what we did with the loan applicant but more suitable for a loan officer. Finally, we have a use case that has two user groups, a loan applicant and loan officers. The loan applicant has two intents configured, and the loan officer has a single intent configured. This completes the use case, and I can publish the use case now. Also, I can export this use case in JSON format that is formalized by the iSee ontology. Once the design user has completed the use case and published, end users, in this case loan applicants or trainee loan officers, can use the iSee test environment to test the explanation strategy and give their feedback. When you log in to the iSee cockpit as a loan applicant, you can see the pre-configured use case that's already published, ready to be tested. I click to enter the iSee test environment, which is a chatbot. It greets you and asks you if you like to proceed. I say yes. Next, it asks, I would like to know more about your knowledge of the system. Can you select a user group from the below that best describes you? In here, we are providing the opportunity to test as a loan applicant or a trainee officer. And in this case, I will select a loan applicant. They are presented with the loan application they submitted to the system and also the likely outcome of that loan application. Here we can see that it's very likely to be accepted and not rejected. And then they want to understand what kind of explanation you want. Select a question below if it's similar to what you like to know, or tell me why you like to know. For this demo, we have disabled custom questions. Instead, we only present the questions that were pre-configured by the design user for this persona. It could come from either one of the intents they configured. Since this application is likely to be accepted, in this case, the loan applicant can select a question like what features are used by the system, and they are unlikely to select a question like how to get a different outcome. So I select this question. And if you remember, for this type of questions, we configured an explanation strategy, and from the strategy, we execute the explainer and provide them with an explanation. In this one, it also comes with a description that helps the user to interpret what the explanation means. And it says that here the home ownership and the annual income most contributed to this loan application being accepted. The loan applicant can respond to this saying, that's cool. And then the chatbot asks if they'll like to answer a questionnaire to evaluate the experience with iSee. I can say yes. And they are presented with that evaluation questionnaire that the design user configured for this intent. The first statement is this explanation of how the AI model works has sufficient detail. For that, when they respond, they can go look at the explanation and see it has a lot of information, maybe too technical, so they select I'm neutral about it. There's another statement, this explanation of how the AI model works seems complete, for which they select I disagree somewhat. And that concludes the conversation and say thank you for using iSee, see you again soon. The next scenario I want to show you is a loan applicant with a rejected loan application. I restart the test environment, and again the chatbot greets the user and asks if they want to proceed. And again, they are asked about their knowledge of the system. Can you select a user group? I'm still testing as a loan applicant. And now they are presented with their loan application and also the likely outcome of the AI system, which is that it's highly likely to be rejected. I say, okay, that's unfortunate. Then the chatbot asks, I want to understand what kind of explanation you want. Select a question below if it's similar to what you like to know. In this case, the loan applicant is likely to ask how to get a different outcome or how to change the instance to get a different outcome. So I asked that question. And from the pre-configuration, if you remember, we configured the discern explanation strategy. From that, user is presented with a counterfactual explanation. And here you can see there's a description that helps the user to interpret what the explanation is about. So it's a table showing original data instance and a counterfactual, which is a similar instance with minor changes for which the AI system predicts a different outcome. So the counterfactual, the main difference between the two is this. So if what they're saying is if you change the total payment from 1,215 to 15,000, you will likely to get a different outcome, which is an accepted loan application. The user can respond to that. Okay, I understand. Then they are asked if they like to evaluate their experience. And they are presented with the pre-configured questions that the design user wanted to ask the loan applicants when they get the explanation. In this case, that is the first statement is this explanation of how the AI model works is useful for my goal, the goal being the loan getting accepted. And it did kind of show them some information that helps them to get their loan approved. So I say I agree somewhat, and that's all the evaluation questionnaire configured. So they say, thank you for using iSee. See you again soon. So that concludes the second scenario. Next, I want to briefly mention the tools that are available for researchers. We have 3 tools that will be used by the design users when they create their use cases, and researchers can contribute their research to be reused using these tools. The first tool I want to show is the questionnaire library, which contains a set of preloaded questionnaires that the design users can reuse. The idea here is that these are questionnaires that has been tested empirically and using user studies by HCI and XAI researchers that they find that are best questions to ask to evaluate the goodness and the satisfaction of a questionnaire. So the idea is, even if the design user does not have an idea what's the best way to evaluate, if the explanation strategy that was recommended to them is the best, they can use some of these, reuse some of these questions and configure them to their use case. The next tool is the explainer library. This shows a collection of explainers we have already implemented and configured within the iSee platform. For example, if I take tabular deep sharp global, we have added some semantic information about this explainer. For example, what's the description of the explainer? What's the algorithm that's used to develop this explainer? What kind of explanations provided by the explainer? Whether it's post hoc or anti hoc, whether it's depending on the model type, whether it's providing a global or a local explanation, and what kind of algorithms that it can work with. This kind of information is useful when the design user is presented with an explainer strategy, because it needs to work with their use case and the implementation details they provide. A researcher who has an explainer that they want to contribute to the iSee platform, they can add it to our GitHub repository, and from here they can add the semantic information of the explainer. The last tool I want to show is the strategy editor. Here the researchers can design explainer strategies. Let me create a demo loan project. Here they have several tools that can be used to design a strategy. Remember earlier, for the design user, we recommended them with a strategy that has a single explainer, but researchers can design more complex strategies here. So for example, if they know a little bit about behavior trees, they can use that knowledge to design strategies here, add some explainers, and select explainers from here. These are the explainers that were added, that are already added in the explainer library, and they can select, for example, discern, and then they can add another explainer here, maybe tabular line, and another explainer method here that may be tabular importance. So in behavior trees, what this means is the user is presented with a discern counterfactual explanation first, and then they are presented with a lime explanation. If the user does not like the lime explanation, because it's a priority node, they are presented with a tabular importance explanation. So if we execute a strategy like this in the test environment, they will be provided with multiple explanations, and they can evaluate their experience. So those are the 3 tools that are available for the researchers on the iSee platform. Lastly, I've made some notes here about what are the technologies that are used in the iSee platform and how everything comes together. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer after the presentation. Finally, I want to talk about what's next for the iSee platform. If you're from the industry, you can use the iSee platform to iteratively improve the explanation strategy based on end user feedback. And once you're happy with the strategy, you can go and implement the strategy within your organization, and the iSee platform can provide you the necessary APIs to do this. And of course, you can choose to add your anonymized use case to the iSee case base so that your learning experiences will be reused by other use cases in the future. If you're a researcher, you can use the 3 tools I showed earlier to add explainers, add explanation strategies, add evaluation questionnaires, and of course add complete use cases to the iSee case base to be reused. Finally, I would like to give a shout out to everyone who's involved in the iSee team, from Madrid, from Ireland, from BT France, and of course from the Robert Gordon University. That's all from me. Thank you for listening, and I'm happy to take any questions.